Hey, MFK in the house.
You work in an agency, it's like your life is not yours. But what it does is it teaches you to work across different industries, right? And the fact that you're working for an agency as a strategist helps you think across industries. The first thing that sort of occurred to me is the fact that I'm a young girl. Like, I cannot take it away. It's like I'm a young girl, right? And if you're a young girl and if you're even remotely pretty, people tend to stop hearing you. It's like you're talking and they're not hearing what you're saying. You're having a full conversation and you're not hearing.
I don't want trouble, I don't want trouble. It is my destiny, why you won't cry me? First, I came from the deepest of valleys. On my mind, I only where the bag is. Couldn't even focus on these baddies. I want boys won't take over, I'm the baddest. I had a buzz brains, madness. Got low from the ladies and the man them. Miami, the sweetest sound I heard it is an anthem. MFK bad going goddamn. They say that dreams come true, makes me wonder about his nightmares. Cause if the energy can bring positives, okay.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of the AFROCOOL podcast. And like you all know, MFK is in the house. And today I have the super amazing, the intelligent, the beautiful, and I think, yes, she's actually the first female. So she's officially launching the podcast for the opposite gender, Irene. Welcome, Irene. Super cool to have you here today.
It's so nice to be here today. I'm so happy.
I'm liking your outfits.
Thank you.
You're looking up nepa.
Look, I want her to match with the cheers.
That goes. It's all good. Nice to have you here again. And I've always wanted to have a female guest that will blow minds of everyone when she comes in as my first female guest. And I had a couple of names down, and thankfully when I reached out to you, you weren't too far off from me.
Yeah.
And you ticked every box of a lady I wanted here. Someone who is young, someone who is amazing, someone who is doing great things in her space, and someone who I, for one, would want to learn from. And I'm very sure my guests would also want to learn from. So enough of me. I would want to hear from you. Who is Irene? What do you do? And how would you best describe yourself?
I would say that Irene is somebody who has become a serial entrepreneur. I don't know how that happened. It just happened. So I run two companies. One is a marketing startup, so a marketing as a service company, and the second one is a digital concierge company. So those two things are the things that have kept me busy over the last couple of years since you saw me.
Interesting.
It's nice to catch up.
I swear down. Concierge. It's nice when I hear that word.
I know.
I only come across it in novels.
So I think we sort of just landed there because what we typically consider ourselves is a travel and experience startup, because that's the space that we play in. But I realized that what we're doing is a range of services across that line. So it's like we're offering end-to-end support. At that point, maybe just make it simpler for people so people know you're the person that they call.
I like that breakdown. So still on you, I would like you to tell us about, because we don't just want to know about the business. We don't just want to know about the amazing things you do. We also want to know about you. Awesome. So what was your childhood like? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What were those little experiences?
Okay. So I was born in Lagos. I grew up for the most part in Lagos. I had an amazing childhood. I'm not going to take anything from that. I tell people that I do acknowledge that has played a huge part in my life and my story, right? Mm-hmm. I had a good childhood. I think my love for travel came from my father, because my father basically taught me how to not travel to one country, but it's like you're going to Korea, you're doing Dubai first, then you're doing maybe Singapore and Malaysia together. So that type of thing, it's like that's sort of the experience of that I know.
This knowledge isn't from like recent times. He has always been like that.
Interesting. So I tell people that I've not touched my father. It's like my travel goals, probably my father, because I've still not touched it. But that sort of helped. But I think that for me, the biggest part of my family was sort of building me into a confident person, right? Because I realized that it is the confidence that has sent me into the world to be daring to do all the things that I have done. But it built me into a confident person. If I think about, how I transitioned from my childhood to where I am, I would say that the link between my childhood and where I am is sort of the decision I made after I left Enugu, like the career path that I chose.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you say after you left Enugu, someone who is listening attentively would be like, okay, she said she was born in Lagos, she grew up the greater part in Lagos, then now she's saying when she left Enugu. So when was she in Enugu?
So I had like a 2-year stint in Enugu for a while, where I went to work.
Okay.
So I worked in Enugu for 2 years. It was a lovely 2 years. It showed me that life is sane outside Lagos. So it's like places without traffic actually exist.
You're like hearing that, right? Visit Enugu.
Visit Enugu, because Enugu actually, if I think of a lot of the work that I implement now, all the things I know around digital marketing, everything I did was learned in Enugu because I had the time and the mental energy to learn all of that.
Enugu gives you that, most definitely.
Yes.
So growing up, who would you say were your character and lifestyle role models? Then, you know how they write in exams, number 1A, number 1, AI. So who would you say were your character and lifestyle role models? Though you mentioned your dad, but I'm sure you also have 1 or 2 other people in the picture. Then who would you say were your role models when it comes to like the corporate space?
So that's a very interesting question because every time I hear it, I realize that it's not a thing that I ever thought about. I never thought about, who is this person and is she a role model to me or he? Like, is this somebody I want to be? I had a vision of the person that I wanted to be. It was a top-level C-suite executive that was making things happen, that was doing work that was actually impacting the world. Okay. And even though I do know that there are lots of people there, there weren't any people that I could see. Now, what's interesting is as an adult, I then come across a video of a woman who's speaking. And she's doing a show just like this. And she's talking about her career path. And she talks about how she moved from a degree in English, not wanting to do law, and then sort of like falling into strategy. And I remember that I thought, that makes a lot of sense because that's my story. That was my story at that point in time, right? And then I looked at her and I'm like, I want to be a strategist now. So
that video,
I'm not even joking,
stamped it for you.
That video was it. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I think that if you think about studying in Nigeria, we know that you study something, you become something else.
Most definitely. If you don't want to be something, study that thing you don't want to be.
Honestly.
And you would
you will move away. But I think like after I finished school, I started looking at everybody that had studied what I had studied to see where they were going.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really gelling for me. I didn't understand what they were doing.
What did you study?
So I studied English and foreign languages, so linguistics.
Okay. In what school?
Université d'Abomey-Calavi. It's in
Sorry,
the
come
Republic.
again.
Université d'Abomey-Calavi.
If I tell you come again 5 more times, I will still say it a 6th time.
It's a French university.
Okay.
And it's like Benin Republic's federal university or something.
Oh, I get a picture.
Yes.
So you studied English in a French speaking.
So interesting. I studied English, French, and Chinese in a French university.
I think that's Japanese.
No. Ni hao ma. Don't worry. My languages only remain French in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah. But after studying that, I remember that everybody said, look, with English, you can do anything. My friend who also studies English tells me that what they mean is you can do nothing.
That's heartbreaking. That one enter.
Because I came out of school and then, people thought, okay, maybe be a French translator or be a French teacher. I'm like, what are those options? That doesn't fit me. So I think first thing I did was I went into account management. I literally went for a writing job. They had a conversation with me. This was in Enugu. Yeah. And next thing, they tell me, look, we're hiring for a more senior role, but we think that that's true. So forget this one you want to write for us. You're not going to write. And that was it. I never wrote. I just moved away.
And you got it just like that
I got it like
started?
That and started.
Interesting.
Now, when I saw the video of the woman, her name is Nenna. Nenna is, she's also known as the Barefoot Strategist. She later became my boss. She has become a client. I love her so much.
Why does this story sound so amazing already?
I know! I saw Nenna speaking and Nenna is like, look, I studied English. And after English, I was like, what do I do? And everything she said sounded like me. And then she landed on strategy, and that became her career path. I'm like, strategy sounds cool. It sounds like I can do that. I can think. Let's do that. So I reached out to her and I said, hi, I want to be a strategist, right?
Social media reaching out?
Yes, I sent a message to her on LinkedIn. She sent me this message, I think, like 2 years ago. And she's like, oh my God, I remember when you sent me this. And it was funny because I sent her the message. I'm like, hi, I saw this video. I want to be a strategist. And look, I would like to work with you. Because it's very specific. I work for people, not companies.
Okay. Okay. I get that part.
So I'm like, I want to work with you. And I remember that the first thing she said was, look, there's no opening right now. But if you have any questions, and truthfully, I never have any questions. There's nothing I want to ask you. But then I saw that they were hiring for an account manager again. And I went for that exact role that I was doing there and transitioned into strategy 3 months later. Because when I entered, I said, look, I want to be a strategist. We don't have option. What I'm going to do is I'm going to help your life so that you see that you need me in strategy. And I did that. And 3 months later, she's like, look, Irene, I think you're a better strategist. Come inside. Come in.
Oh, so that worked.
Yes.
Interesting.
So go for what you want, people.
You heard that. And this is a living proof on that. That's good. So with how I got to know you, Enugu, book club, and all that, more of the literary space. So how would you paint that part of yourself, like Irene, who is the book club girl, who is always trying to get the next novel, who is always trying to speak on this book and break down the characters and all that? Because that was the you I got to know.
True.
So let's know more about that, Irene.
So I've always loved books. As a child, they had to ban me from reading books because I was always reading.
I thought they forced people to read.
I know in my own house, my parents at some point, they're like, you need to sleep. You need to stop. Because I was batch reading books. My cousin would come to the house and she's like, oh, I'm leaving. I'm like, but I haven't finished the books. So I would sit down and I would make sure that I finish all the books. So I really love books. That I think has sort of helped me, open my mind to a lot of things. Now, what's interesting is I don't like non-fiction books. It doesn't make sense to be a business person and be like, look, but I like fiction books. It's like, life is hard. Let's actually take ourselves into different worlds and have fun. So that's the part of me that enjoys like immersing herself in another world.
Nice one. Okay, that explains a lot and all, but let me see. You as a kid, I'm trying to imagine what would now be the punishment when the way maybe you're watching cartoon, because for me, watching cartoon as a kid a lot, the punishment would be put off the TV, go and read. So I'm trying to think, close the books, go and watch cartoons.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to imagine.
Sorry to my parents, they did not have it easy. It's like, it's okay.
Oh boy, it's all good. So you transitioning into tech and all that, you've given us a little drive on school, strategy, the whole difference between working for people and not necessarily working for companies and all that. But at what point did you say, I think I need to bounce?
So when I started in strategy in an agency. I say that built me up for stress.
Oh, okay.
Yes. If you work in an agency, it's like your life is not yours. But what it does is it teaches you to work across different industries, right? And the fact that you're working for an agency as a strategist helps you think across industries. So it doesn't matter what it is. You can enter
Yes.
So that was my first thing. When I decided that I wanted to go into tech, it was a decision that sort of aligned with remember I said my goal was top level C-suite executive, all of that. And then I realized, look, I'm done with this phase. How do I move on to the next phase? What's the next thing for me? And next thing for me was a high-level marketing role, because that then is the practical application of strategy, right?
Okay.
And remember that from Enugu, I already had account management and digital marketing in my background.
Yes.
It was like everything I'd been learning sort of prepared me for that. So I set myself up. I literally sat down, built an executive CV, applied for a couple of jobs, got to the head of marketing role at Halo. Halo is a fintech in Lagos. So they had like a bunch of other like subsidiary companies and all, and I was just supposed to be in charge of marketing for all of them.
Okay.
So that was my first foray into tech via marketing.
Okay. So you just mentioned like the Halo, right? Okay. Your time frame there, did you stay in that role, or the way you started off with the accounts in the previous one and you switched to strategy? Did you have a switch like that in
Halo.
this particular company?
No, so I think because I'd already built the basics of my career. So it's like I'm already in marketing. I'm already I'm a growth person. I enter inside, they're like, okay, head of marketing. Then I think I was offered the chief, I don't know what they call the CMO role. And I know that even after that, I decided, look, maybe I want to explore other areas of technology, because if you think about it, a lot of people enter fintech, and so I wanted to explore other areas. I remember I was having a conversation, and that's how I sort of forwarded into my second role as global head of marketing. So that was a bigger role, because it was a role that was for a Kenyan Finnish company. So it's like I'm working with the team in Finland, Kenya, Uganda. So it's like you then have to make sure that all the countries that we're operating in are growing, and that was my role. So for me, it was just it was not a you're moving from here to here. It's like you're moving from here to here. Exactly.
That's a good one. Then now trying to grow with you as you were growing. Now I'm trying to grow with you. How did you now transition into? It's amazing doing all this for these people. I think I can do something for myself. And I think the time is now. What was the thought process, and what was that thing that happened that made you decide that, okay, it's now, let me move? And how did the challenges, the pluses, everything, how did it come about?
So if I look at that part of my life, it was, look, you're here, you're doing this. It didn't just start. So I think I was having this conversation just before we came in. A lot of things don't just happen. I had REVIE. REVIE was an idea in 2019. We started executing in 2020. COVID happened. Like, there was a lot of things.
Oh, okay.
In 2020, I started Irene Aguh. That's the marketing as a service one. So I did already have these things running. I had people that were running there. So the systems I was able to put in place with the small time I got during COVID, they were using those systems to grow and make money. So for me, it wasn't I'm going to stop and just go and start something. It was I've started something. I can see potential in it. I just do not have enough time to actually push it. And the honest truth is, nobody will push your business like you.
Most definitely.
Because in the early stages, they don't even understand what it is you're doing yet.
Yes.
So at that point, I said, look, I've been doing this for a ton of companies, because remember, agency background, I'd worked with all the big guys, MTN, First Bank, like anybody I'd probably touched in some way. So for me, it was, I've been doing this for these guys, and they can see the potential, right? How about I take that potential and sort of put it into my babies that I've created?
Most def.
And that was it. And I think that the switch for me happened, like I was absolutely certain I was going to do when my friend died. So I had a friend, and we were like, look, we're going to do this. We have all these big plans, and he just dies. And I'm like, you can just die. And for me, it was, why are we waiting? It's like, do it. If he fails,
all or nothing.
If he fails, he fails. If he fails, I will open a shop in Ladipo.
Not even Mandilas, Ladipo, spare parts.
Anywhere, I would do it. So it's like, let's go. So I think that was the push for me.
Okay. So what issues did you encounter, and what experiences? And when I say issues, it tilts more to the negative. Like, what issues did you encounter, and what experiences did you have from all these other agencies and companies you worked in that helped shape your thought process into building your startups to what it is today?
So I say the first thing that sort of occurred to me is the fact that I'm a young girl. Like, I cannot take it away. It's like, I'm a young girl, right? And if you're a young girl, and if you're even remotely pretty, people tend to stop hearing you. It's like you're talking and they're not hearing what you're saying. You're having a full conversation and you're not hearing. I think that sort of propelled me to learn to put myself very boldly in places where I'm doing the work. Right?
Okay.
So that sort of has like shaped the work that I've done.
Okay.
Like, you're doing the work, right? Don't let anybody else take your shine. That was number one. I think another like major challenge that I have basically faced that sort of is managing teams, right? People don't understand that to manage a team is hard. But managing teams across those like different industries, working with clients, all those things sort of trained me for one, understanding your users, because your internal stakeholders are also your users, whether it's your team or your clients, whatever it is, they're also your people.
Yes.
So you sort of have to figure out how to understand what it is that they want, because sometimes they might not even know what they want.
Very true.
But you are supposed to figure it out for them. So all of that sort of built me into the businesswoman that I am today.
Interesting. Okay, then with what you said on being a young lady, and even if, in quotes, remotely pretty, people tend to stop hearing you.
Yeah.
It's in line with my next question to a bit. Did your being a lady create any form of setback? Because some of us might want to shy away from these questions, but for people who are watching or listening to this and they would want to get into this space or on the trail where the path you're creating, they would need to, and for the ladies in particular, they will need to know these things. I'm sure a whole lot of them, the younger ones, will have these questions at the back of their head. So I'm asking, your being a lady, did it create any form of setback, or was it a plus? And do you think women are legit respected in the space? That laugh answered it, but I still want an answer.
It's okay.
I still want an answer.
So did my being a lady help me in any way? I don't think so. I don't think it helped me. If anything, I do think that in certain situations, I found out that it didn't let people respect me as much as they should, because they think, look, you're younger, what do you know? Oh, you're younger, what do you need money for? It's like, these are conversations I actually heard. But I think for me, the biggest part of it was understanding, again, that thing where I say people aren't listening to you. You enter a room and I'm trying to have a serious conversation with you, but your mind is not where it should be. It's like, how do I help you understand that?
This is what I'm here for.
It's like, I came for work, right? Let's have a conversation about work. And I think even when you look at like other situations that women in like similar spaces have spoken to me about, it's like, you're either earning less than men, or there are always all these weird small challenges that people throw at you. Now I try not to talk a lot about being a woman in tech or being a woman in business. And it's not necessarily because I don't see that there are challenges, right? It's because I do think that we need to move beyond that.
Oh, okay.
As women. Because rather than focusing on that, let's focus on what we're like, how are we solving these things?
Okay. Instead of focusing on this,
yes, it's like,
there are challenges we need to
do you
handle.
Understand? Like, for example, how are we building our own communities? Because every time I hear a conversation, I remember that I had a sales, I can't remember if it was a salesperson or something, but I hired him and he came and he brought a report to me, and the report didn't make sense, right? Because his ideas weren't like, it wasn't in line with where we're trying to go. Okay. And I remember that I was having this conversation. I'm like, okay, how about you do this? And then he tells me, oh, you're a woman, you won't understand.
Wait. The person you hired legit told you this.
I've gone through life. He tells me, oh, you're a woman, you won't understand. The thing is, men close deals like the way we close. I've been closing deals since before you started your career. So I don't understand the conversation that we're having. And, I've been in multiple situations.
Even if it's a thought he's having, he didn't need to say it out.
Like, don't tell me. Like, at least respect the fact.
Thank you.
That I'm the one that hired you. And, I sat down and I looked at it. And I'm like, it's so interesting how bold, and I'm sorry, this is no shade to the gender. It's so interesting how bold some men are with ideas that just don't make sense. Because you are very bold. And you're very boldly telling me that, I don't understand how deals are closed because I'm a woman. And I'm like, okay. Thank you for that information.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
I will. I'll take that into consideration. I don't remember what the second question was.
Okay. The second part of it was it's interwoven because I asked about if you think ladies are being respected in the space. Talked about the setbacks. If in the space you had more setbacks or more pluses as a woman. Yes, but from what you said, I'm now tempted to ask you, because I don't know. So my asking is me trying to find out and me wanting to know if all this instigated an idea of, okay, I think I need a male co-founder to help in cases like this? Did you get to a point where, as much as we might either have a strong persona, or we might try to front a strong persona, there are times when this thing gets to you and you might be like, okay, let me XYZ. So did you get to that point?
No. Now, the reason I did not get to that point is, one, I'm a stubborn person.
Okay.
I don't believe that any one person has the power to determine my outcome.
All right.
So it means that if my business is going to succeed, it's going to succeed whether or not you're there. That's it, right? I'm putting in enough work. I'm putting in enough good work. I know what I'm doing. Now, if I do decide to get a co-founder, it's not going to be on basis of the agenda. Do you understand?
It's going to be because you need XYZ for these things.
Exactly. One thing that I realized is a lot of people are very loud and very public about terrible ideas. I looked for the best.
Why do I feel that when you say a lot of people, you mean the male gender?
No, I'm just, a lot of people. A lot of people.
Okay.
Are very loud about like things that don't really make sense, and they're not very realistic. I have realized that the world tends to reward loudness, right? Because if you look at the world today, I've met a ton of people that are very much in the public eye. They're very, I'm a professional on this, and I have conversations with these people. I'm like, who said you were a professional and why? So I have realized that a lot of people tend to be very loud. So sometimes, the world does force you to be in the face of your face a lot, right? But the honest truth is you do have a ton of successful companies across the world that aren't necessarily doing those things. Now, what's interesting for me is that I'm not looking to be loud or famous or popular. None of that. Look, I want to be successful extremely successful.
I wish they could see the face you made.
In very clean language, I want to be extremely successful, right? I don't think that I need somebody of a particular gender to make it happen. I think that I need people of a particular skill set to make that happen.
And when you say you want to be extremely successful, I think you're painting the wrong picture, because you are extremely successful.
In Jesus' name.
Stop it. You're extremely successful. We both know that. That's one of the many reasons why you're here. That's one of the reasons why, irrespective of how we got to know each other, the respect I have for you is over the moon. And when you're now on that moon, it is now over the other moon and all. So you're really an inspiration to a whole lot of us, and there's a whole lot to learn both on and off the cameras and all.
Thank you.
So to relax the mood a bit, anybody who, even if it's via the explore page on Instagram, just makes a mistake to swipe through, they will think you travel for a living. They'll think you live the baby girl life for a living. They will not know you do a whole lot of hard work.
I do.
So I would ask, where are your favorite places to travel to for fun, and what are your favorite things to do?
Favorite things to do. I like activity. It's so interesting. I love arts and culture is good. It's all of that. But I'm more of an activity babe. So for example, I think my absolute favorite thing that I've ever done was go snorkeling in the ocean. It was so nice.
Can you break that down to what it is like in Nigerian terms?
They will wear a mask on your face and they will toss you into the water, and fishes will be swimming around you, and you're literally in the middle of a blue ocean somewhere, and it's so nice. Like, I just realized that it's my favorite thing.
You did not think that any of those fishes could be a shark, as in that one of them who they are big cousin somewhere is one shark and he's coming for holidays.
So God be the glory. No, before I went to there, I'm like, look, how many shark sightings have we had? I remember that I wanted to go, what's that thing you do when you jump with a parachute?
Yes, skydiving.
I wanted to go skydiving, and then my instructor got COVID. But I remember that my first thing was, sorry, how many deaths have you had in the last 5 years? Let me be sure. And they're like, not really. I'm like,
You either die or you don't die.
no,
What's the
mind you,
meaning of not
I think
really?
he thought it was funny because it was not funny to me. I mean, Nigerian, sir. But I think in terms of activities, I loved snorkeling. I have like some lake type activities. I'm not sure why, but I tend to do a lot of water activities. Now that I
Okay.
think about it.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
but, yeah.
There's a way you say this thing around your pastor, they'll book you for deliverance.
Please, nobody should book me for deliverance.
When you say you like water activities,
please.
a Nigerian pastor will be like, marine spirits.
I swear.
Marine spirits.
Oh no. In terms of countries, I don't have any favorite countries. But I have, let's see, I like Germany, right?
Okay.
Because I had somebody there that made it their
Fun.
It was their absolute job to make sure that I did everything.
Okay.
So I think I like that French to Germany route because there's a lot to do. There's a lot to explore. In terms of actual like places that I've enjoyed, I enjoyed Morocco because Morocco is very calm. I know that there have been some bad PR around Morocco.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I did not experience it when I was there.
The traveling,
So,
the whole.
Yes. I'm just thankful that I did not experience it, but it's good to always mention these things in case people are thinking of where to go. They also know the negative parts. I love Korea. I love Korea because that sort of takes me back to my childhood.
How does Korea take you back to your childhood, please?
My father used to live there for the longest time, so in my mind, I was Korean. So before K-drama and everything, I don't even watch K-drama. That's what's interesting.
But you have that connection.
Exactly. So it's like. I finally went as an adult last year, and then I went to our old house, and I went to our second house. Then I went to where I did taekwondo. It was just it took me back. But then I also explored other things, other fun things like glamping, which was good.
Interesting. You said taekwondo. Do you still have that in you?
People have advised me not to welcome aggression in my life.
I like that response. It's all good. So, in all these, I didn't get any hint of Nigeria.
So that's very interesting, right? I think that the biggest problem that I have is that, for example, I used to go to Enugu once a year.
Okay.
And then they started the 4-day workday.
And where Monday is a weekend extension.
The reason for a 4-day workday was not, let's dash people extra day. So I think that for me, I do think that we have a lot of places. I want to go to the north. I saw a TikTok video where this girl did she did like a list of snacks that you can find in the north, and it just looks so good. And I like food. Anywhere they have food, call me. And I'm like, look, I want to go to the north.
Are you very experimental with food?
Yes, I ate like octopus last year. Not live. It's like when you kill it.
I saw it.
That one where it's still
it
wiggling, and it was good. It was the best I'd ever eaten.
If you pay me, I won't eat it.
I promise you, as I ate it, when they tried to give me cooked octopus later, I almost threw up. It was weird. That looked weird because it was big and weird. The small one was very delicious.
She's not explaining it well. When you say the small ones, you mean the ones you ate alive?
No, it wasn't alive.
They were moving.
It's the nerves and the tendons that were still moving. Is it my fault? They did not cook it. That's why I was moving. But it was. I promise you, it was actually really good. Spiced
everything.
They had like some dip, like some sauce on it, so that was nice.
Oh, interesting.
We should try it together.
Okay. Please, I'm sticking to abacha.
Oh God, I love abacha.
Okay. Now away from that a bit. So back to regular schedule program. Do you see yourself as a role model to the younger to the younger folks? And do you put yourself out there to be like, maybe not from a place of I want to be the person, but from a place of these people need to learn. These people, they need to have a path, and I don't see enough people who could be that for them. So let me try to. So do you put yourself out there to be like a role model to younger ladies? And do you see yourself as a role model?
Do I see myself as a role model? I would say I've never actually thought about it.
Okay.
Right? But I do believe in modeling behavior, right? Because even when I'm talking to people about culture in companies, everybody needs to sort of model the behavior that they want people to emulate. So that's something that I take very personal. Sometimes I catch myself slipping, and I have to remember that, look, some of these people that are working with you or that are looking at you will think that this is the way life is. It's not the way life is. How do you help them get back to? And then I'm also always actively trying to fix mistakes that I made, that I see other young women making. So for example, I realize a lot of young women don't know how to speak up in the office. Like, they don't know how to share their ideas. They don't know how to own their ideas. And it's not because their ideas are not good. It's because they are always overthinking it, right? And next thing you know, other people are taking the ideas from them and making it look like theirs. But I've made it like my duty to sort of spot those scenarios where you're looking at the people actually doing the work, not the people talking about the work.
Okay. I
You see that?
I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then do you, because when things like this are being discussed, most times I don't know if it's because you have more men in the industry or whether it's because men are more outspoken. But when things like this are being discussed, men are the ones who have leverage to a point. So when you're doing these amazing things you're doing, do you specifically take time out to look out for the ladies? Because you're in a space, it's very rare to see a guy who is the one who can't speak up. Most times it is the lady. So if you are the type that is rounded, okay, you have 10 staff and 8 of them are very outspoken and all, but it just happens that the remaining 2 are ladies. Are you the type who would be like, 8 out of 10, we are good? Or you'd be like, the 2 ladies, Irene, we go here again. We go as in all in. So do you give extra attention to the ladies? It's not.
So I think that first off, it's good to mention that my companies are not only female led, they are also majorly female run. And it didn't happen, it wasn't I was looking for females. It was the best people for the job just happened to be female.
I like that you said this.
The best people for the job just happen to be female.
Okay.
Right? So we have a majorly female population.
Nice.
Now for me, in situations like when I'm on the board of some other companies, I'm working with other companies. So it means that if I'm in those spaces and I see more males, less females, if the woman, the honest truth is, for me, it's not a gender action. It's a value action. It's like, if the woman does have what it takes, like, I see you're a smart woman, we're not going to sit down and let your smartness be dulled by everything. Nobody is going to overlook that brilliance. So for me, it's more on value. Yes, exactly. Oh, by the way, doesn't mean that I'm not, female first. But I'm just telling you that when it comes to work, all of us came to work. Let's do the work and go.
Amazing. So what are some of the key things one should have strapped if one is thinking of having a startup?
Jesus. So let's see. I think that one thing you need to sort of have down is not just your idea, but the execution of your idea. So a lot of people focus on the idea, and we tend to think, oh, my idea is good, it's the best in the world.
Auntie, hold on. Can you break down idea execution, preferably with an example? Sorry, this is beginning to look like a class,
okay,
but
class. Good morning, students. So first you have the idea. So for example, you realize that you want to open a fashion brand.
Okay.
Right? And you think, oh, the reason I want to open a fashion store is not a lot of women or not a lot of men. Not a lot of men have places to shop online that are good.
Okay.
So you have the idea. Now, what a lot of people fail to do is then think of the way that idea will play out, right? People assume that if I start today, I set up a store, I open an Instagram page, I figure out where to buy my shirts, business will come. That's not the way it works, right?
Okay.
If you are planning for business, it means that you have to, one, have a long-term plan. You have companies that have stayed 7 years before they blew.
True.
Right? But a lot of people don't think that way. So in your mind, you're thinking, I want to set up a menswear brand. So the question is, why should they buy from you? Right? what are your margins going to be looking like? So it's like you have to think of it first from the idea point of view, then even the profitability of the business itself, and then the sustainability of that. So sometimes I see people say, oh, look, the only thing that I sell is ties. It's like, if you're only selling ties, how often do men have to change their ties? Like, let's even ask ourselves, right?
Yes.
How many ties does the average man own? Let's assume that your market is Lagos. You're not going to get the entire Lagos to buy from you.
True.
So obviously, it means that 100 people first will find you within the first year. Because you're a small business, you don't have Facebook money to go and be throwing up and down
Very
to get
true.
a gazillion people. So you have to think of those like little specifics. What will it look like? Who is my actual audience? Why should they buy from me? What's the actual value that I'm providing? How do I reach them? How much money am I going to be making off this? If government says tomorrow that fuel price has increased and then clothes people increase their price, am I still going to be making a margin? Like, you have to take all those small things into consideration. But a lot of people don't do that. So we rush into it and then we're like, oh wow, it's hard. Yes, it is.
So that's more the implementation part beyond just the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you guys are getting your, pens, notepads, and all that. Okay, awesome. Then having the idea is one thing. Making sure it generates cash is another. How can young co-founders marry these
together?
Yes, in a way that it's not so difficult and it doesn't look too technical. But how can, okay, I have the idea, even like you said, having the idea, the thought on how I would implement it, then building to cash inflow. How can one marry those thoughts?
So I think that the first thing is, what's your idea? How is it going to make you money? Right? When you figure out what your idea is, you have to figure out how the execution will make you money. So I want to start a menswear brand. What I'm going to be selling are shirts and pants. The average cost of a shirt in Lagos is 7,000. Average cost of pants are 10K. Sorry, I'm throwing random figures right now.
Okay.
So it means that I need to find a vendor who's going to sell me the shirts, or who's going to make the shirt for me, and I will get a certain margin, right? Now, in that margin, I have to calculate, one, my time spent. So it's like, let's assume I find a vendor that's selling me 5K per shirt. So it means I'm making 2K. The question for me would then be, out of that 2K, let's assume I sell 10 2Ks. That's what, 20K.
Yeah.
Is 20K going to cover my time? Is 20K going to cover any small marketing I might decide to do? If I decide to hire a small intern to help me first while we're still growing the business, will 20K be able to cover? So it's like all those small things.
The little
right?
things. Okay.
Other people that are selling, are they actually selling at 7K too? Or are they selling more? Or are they selling less? If they're selling less, why are they selling less? What is it that they're selling that's different from mine? Do they have a cheaper vendor? All those
those little things.
And then how they even messaging how are they selling it? Are they running on Facebook Market and carrying it up and down? Are they showing on WhatsApp? It's like, where are the places that people are actually seeing these things?
Okay.
And where are the places people are buying from? Because those are two different things. Some people run Twitter ads and
conversion rates.
Yo, my God, because that's not where their audience is. So it's like, you need to figure out, where are these people actually, and what is that barrier to purchase for them? It's like, what do they think of that makes them think, oh, it's actually want to pay for this, and then they pay you.
Okay, then now trying to push it a bit further for people who, now we've been talking more on startups, but now trying to push it a little bit further to tech startups now. Some pointers one who intends going into that should have at the back of his or her mind, that you would say, okay, yes, you have your idea. You also know how you can dabble around implementing it. We all know that most startups, we push to try to get investors and all. How does one who is in that phase of, I have an idea, I'm trying to get developers, let's create this-ish, and intention to get investors to scale up and all, what are the things that person needs to know or needs to do to be, as in, to increase his or her chances of achieving investments?
Okay. So I say first off, to build a sustainable, profitable business, right? Remember, a lot of businesses are not profitable in the first couple of years.
Yes.
A lot of businesses are still not profitable till today. Startups that are big.
True.
But to build a sustainable, profitable business model, the first thing you have to remove is the thought of investors. It's not like you will not get investors, but first remove that.
So that shouldn't even be...
It's like, if nobody
okay.
is giving me money, because you need to remember that what you're doing is first setting up a business.
Yes.
As long as it's not a not-profit, then it means that you need to know that you're in business to make money.
True.
So the first thing you need to build is a business that will make you money.
Okay.
Right? Now, to build a startup, to build a tech startup that makes sense, you need to make sure that, one, you have that product market fit. It's like people talk about it a lot, but the question is, what is product market fit?
Okay.
But it is, one, you brought that idea. You found users that actually want the thing that you're about to push to them, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, right?
Yeah.
You need to figure out if people actually want it. People start things thinking, oh, people want this, but it's not that people want it. It's that you think that people want it. What you think people want and what people want are actually almost always different.
Two different things.
And you see that even in large corporates, like, it's sort of the same problem a lot of people face. It's like, how do you find that product market fit? Now, when you found your product market fit, the question now becomes, what are the other elements that affect you? So there's your audience, there's your competition, there's your value proposition, right? Like your product itself.
Yes.
Now, for your audience, it's obviously who is the actual audience who are my early adopters? Who are the people that will see this thing and say, look, I want this thing now, right? I have a lower barrier to entry than other people. I'm more likely to take up that product. Second thing is competition. Who am I competing against, right? What are their key value propositions? So a lot of people come out and think of that. I remember that, remember when they had what I like to call the bike wars, where Gokada.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
When everybody
the bike
came,
wars. All right.
It was a big thing there was people created their strategy, their competitive strategy was basically built on pricing. You can't build a business model on pricing. The reason is because there's always somebody that can offer it lower than you. So I can't come out and say, look, you can get the most affordable flight tickets on REVIE. The truth is, one bigger company that has more money can literally subsidize it a lot more. I can't fight with them on pricing. The question is, what other value can I give you?
Okay.
Right? So you need to sort of look at your competition and figure out what the gap is in the product that you're offering, right? Do you actually need to be creating this product? If you don't need to create a product, look for a second one.
Interesting.
Like, always be willing. I keep telling people, always be willing to pivot, always be willing to be fluid, to be flexible, because if you're not flexible, then you will get stuck in a place that you don't want to be. Then the third thing is your product, right? You create products a certain way. Now, you're supposed to be creating a product for your users. It is, look, I want to create a startup that's, for example, one of my favorites, food subscription, right?
Okay.
You're creating a food subscription startup, it's built on technology. It's like, how do I use technology to simplify this entire process?
Yes.
Now, when you think of the value proposition, when you think of the product, the question becomes, what's that product workflow for the user? Not for you. Again, people need to remember you are not your users, right? Don't make business decisions based on
your
feel.
own.
Exactly. When I started REVIE, it was a very simple idea. It was, look, everybody thinks that building experiences is hard. Like, we all want to do fun stuff. Every time we have a conversation, someone's like, I want to do fun things, I want to travel, but it's like everybody just always thinks it's super, super expensive, right? And my thing was, there are hacks and ways around this, right? So it's, how do you sort of help people save towards the beautiful moments in life or experiences or activities, right? And I remember that for me, I didn't say, oh, REVIE is a business until we had gone out. I had tried a couple of our ideas. Like, before we landed at the services that we're currently offering, there was a lot of work that went into it. We found a ton of providers. We found a ton of services. We're testing in little segments. What do people respond to most? What's bringing in money? Do you understand? And then we sort of listen to the market. We let the people build the company for us, rather than build the company for them. And I think that's what sort of led us to where we are. So you always need to make sure that those three things are in, like, major consideration. It's like, what's your audience? What's your competition like? And then what is your actual product like? What's your product value? And how do you monetize that?
Interesting. I was hoping you wouldn't stop.
I like talking about work. The only reason I'm stopping is so that people will not go away.
Okay. There are a whole lot of tech startups in Enugu. Um, I I would love to know, were there some startups you worked with, even if not officially, and would you like to, because part of this thing is beyond everything. I love my audience to know, and I love people in general to know that amazing things are happening everywhere. And when I say amazing things are happening everywhere, I can only talk about places I know. And I know Enugu. And I know amazing things are happening in Enugu. And apart from Lagos, it might be myopic, but I think Enugu is like one of the go-tos when it comes to tech hubs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Top 3, top 5. I think Enugu should be somewhere there. So are there tech startups you experienced or worked with in Enugu? Would you like to mention one or two companies or even persons you worked with who did amazing and who you think the world should know about and what they do?
So I think interestingly, my experience with the Enugu tech ecosystem sort of happened after I left. So for example, someone in our book club, Ezra.
Okay, Ezra.
Yes, I know that he used to work for Genesis Tech Hub, but what I liked them was that they were a hub for, companies like that or people looking to go into tech.
Yes.
And for me, it's like every time I see them post something about, business, a company, a startup they're working with, or somebody who's trying to get into the startup space, it's always so amazing for me because I'm looking at them and they're like, oh, look, we sent some of our employees to Washington for this.
Yeah, like, all the way from Enugu.
Enugu, you people should please. I'm here. Let's come because what are we doing? But I do think that it's important to sort of acknowledge there are a lot of there are lots of great startups, like places outside Lagos. Lagos people tend to be weirdly, they think that the world revolves around Lagos, which is very interesting.
Are they the loud people you referenced?
I don't want to get cancelled. No, but Lagos people, we're very like stuck in our own bubble.
But I don't think it's just about the Lagos tech space. I think it's a Lagos thing in any industry.
Yes,
I think it's just a Lagos thing.
I don't want to say that we're the America of Nigeria, but we're the America of Nigeria.
True, true.
So it's like we just think, a lot of things revolve around us.
Yeah.
So we don't see. I think one guy that I liked was this founder that went to set up shop in Jos, and everybody's saying, "Oh, why Jos?" And the honest truth is, one, your employees will have a better standard of living there.
True.
A lot of my employees, I don't even know where they are. So it's like anywhere that you are, you're working from
Shall
there.
work.
Thank you, Jesus. Shall do your work and come back. But you see all these things, and I think that if we start thinking of moving the center of power and sort of spreading it around, it'll get to a lot more people.
True.
Because then you can touch the youth in Enugu, you can touch the youth in Jos, you can open up opportunities for work, for business. It's like there's a lot that we can do the moment we start looking at the other startup industries and supporting them the way that I do feel like they should be supported.
True. And I think it's a perfectly way. What do you think is the role of the government?
Why do I keep making these sounds?
Our academic institutions and the private sector and all these three, independently, not as one, independently. What do you think is your role to help with the growth of startup in our country?
I would say the government needs to make it easier. Like, look, I think I was reading a report last year where they said that startups in Nigeria had raised over $2.1 billion. That's a lot of money, you people.
A whole lot.
That's a lot of money.
A whole lot.
And if you think about the fact that this is a lot of money being made by people who were graduates, not more than 10, 12 years ago.
True.
So it means that, one, your young population, it's giving them an opportunity to grow. It's giving them an opportunity to emerge as not just young people, but young leaders, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that the government needs to figure out how to build policies that are a bit more favorable, right? Right now, I do think that a lot of people are in a space where they think, look, anything can happen in Nigeria. So it's like, as you're doing your business, your mind is here, your heart is here.
Yes,
so
very true.
We need to sort of figure out how to take that negativity out of doing business in Nigeria. That's number one for me. If I think about schools, even though I didn't do my university here, a lot of things that I do see are not things that are applicable in real life. And I think that's across the world, right? If we could think of ways to make school a bit more practical,
curriculum and all.
yes, it's like, let's actually look at where the world is going. Let's actually look at building, because I think that as Nigerians, right, unlike the Western world, where you have people that are being set up for, you know, I'm going to be a scientist, I'm going to find the next planet.
Yeah.
I don't think that we're encouraging enough of that here.
Nah.
It's like,
We are still telling them who discovered Mungo Park.
exactly.
Who discovered River Niger? Answer Mungo Park. It's
a lot of that, right? So I do think that we need to sort of look at our curriculum and maybe create a curriculum that is more tailored towards our audience, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the solutions that we need to be thinking of. Stop thinking of Western solutions for Africa or for Nigeria. We're not we're a different boat.
Our space is totally
completely
different. So we need ideas and solutions that fit streamlined
exactly.
to.
So we all need to figure out, okay, and even with the private sector, it's like, how are we collaborating with the startups that are popping up to sort of solve these problems? Because I keep explaining that competition, like when I say look at the competitive space, for me, if I think of all the other brands in the travel space, I don't think of them as competition. The reason is because a lot of these people have become our providers, because what we're trying to do is build end-to-end support. I cannot build end-to-end support across the world by myself.
Oh, very true.
So it means that I have to partner with other organizations in the private sector, even in the informal sector, to basically make these things happen. So it's how are we opening up these like opportunities for collaboration, opportunities for partnerships, like how are we actually exchanging ideas and thinking, look, very, very practically, we're in a world where we're not top, we are top in, let's say, they say, oh, Nigerian tech industry got a ton of money and everything. What's interesting for me is that it's not translating in terms of you want to travel and you have a Nigerian passport and they will stop you and they will use a big microscope to check if it's a fake passport. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Yes. And, you know, before countries put bans on you, for example, most of our providers start giving us red flags. It's like, they're looking at Nigerians, they're looking at Nigerians. So I start to know, okay, this country is probably going to say we cannot come in. And the next thing, within 3 months, like they say we cannot come in. But before then, because we already know, we're telling people, don't go there. They don't like us. So, like, my thing is, we need to figure out how are we actually working towards becoming a world power, right? Even if it's an African power. Let's start from there.
Charity begins at home.
Exactly. So it's like, let's actually figure out ways to grow these industries so that we can build our capacity as a nation first. And then we can take it from there.
Okay. This is an impromptu stuff that came to my head just now. You're big on travel and all. People will say I like Enugu too much, but I do like Enugu too much. And Enugu is like one of the go-tos when it comes to travel, hikes, and all that.
I love the hikes.
We have a very amazing hiking community, Hikers Trail, shout out, in Enugu. And do you, considering what you do you have plans to probably collaborate with probably the Enugu state government to have something whereby what you do, you can have a level playing ground to be able to achieve a lot, so you can showcase and bring in people into that space with the backing of the state government? Do you have something like that?
That's a big goal of mine. The reason it's a big goal of mine is I remember I was in conversations with somebody, I think about 3-4 years ago. He owns a travel agency and he was telling me they just secured a partnership with one of the Western states to push like tourism in that state, because they had like groves and stuff that had become, so we needed to manage it better so that we would now start bringing people in. But it's one of the things that I think makes sense to me. People like Morocco, right? Marrakesh has become a tourist center. It's like, that's the work that a lot of people are doing. It's tourism. I think that if we did something like that, the amount of money that we would have coming in.
Yeah, there'll be a whole lot.
Do you understand? Our economy would be so much better.
Yes.
I want people to come back. I remember that we did a group trip at some point to Owerri. And the entire thing was jet skiing in Owerri. And people are like, What do you mean jet skiing in Owerri?
I wanted to ask. I said, let me know.
Oh no, it was so much fun. It was actually really nice. We went jet skiing. We did a ton of things. It was very restful. It was beautiful. And everybody that went for that trip, basically, like, they're part of a regular family. Like, we are now a family of travelers.
Yes.
Every year. Where are we going?
Where are we going this year?
I love it. But I do think that we have those kind of places. Enugu hiking, like, what are they hiking in other countries cannot hike here? Come here, we do have mountains.
Exactly.
We have the caves.
Yes.
We have a ton of things.
A whole lot.
Look, I'm waiting for us to secure these deals and partnerships so that we can basically make Nigeria a destination. It's important. Let's do it.
And in line with that, just continuing, I'm about asking, what are the things you're up to? Maybe things that are on ground or still in the works, in the pipeline, that you would probably want the world to know that, hey, look out for XYZ. What are one or two things you would want to share with us?
I think besides the two that I'm already very, very publicly working on, that's REVIE, the travel one, and IREMU, the marketing as a service company. I'm on the board of this very fantastic company. It's called Paydor. Why I love Paydor is that, have they ever stolen your money online on Instagram?
Don't bring back memories.
So, why I love Paydor is that Paydor is a solution to that. It's an escrow startup that basically helps you build trust both for vendors and for sellers with online transactions.
Okay.
Right? So think of the Facebook marketplace, think of the Instagram marketplace, think of even the Gigi marketplace. It's like, I don't want to give you my money because you can take my money and like, that's it. And it happened to somebody I know, like, he tried to buy a camera 2 weeks ago and 200K gone like that. That's a lot of money. So what Paydor does is, they take the money from the buyer, they hold it. When you have confirmed that you've gotten the item, then you put in a code. It's very seamless. It's very beautiful.
Okay.
Extra features that they have is, their users get storefronts. So it's like, you don't have to do too much. Just put your storefronts. That's it. You're selling, your money is entering. Nobody has to say, Auntie, please, can I pay on delivery? You don't have to be answering.
Everybody knows what's on the table and you're good to go.
Exactly.
So when you receive, the person confirms and you guys release the cash.
All of you are good. So it means that you get that storefront feature, you get the not having to respond to DMs. It's not available in white. So it's like, there's that automation. I love the automation part of it, but then I also like super, super love the escrow part of it. I think that it's something that's going to be big. I feel like, the team puts their mind to it. It's going to be amazing.
What's the progress on it been like so far?
So far it's actually been really good. So they launched the beta version. Sorry, I have my months mixed up. They launched a beta version, I think, like late last year. They've gotten like a bunch of vendors that are, actually using them actively. So I'm looking forward to seeing the progress.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Amazing. Yes. So, anyone interested in reaching out to you, maybe for business, maybe, how can they reach you? Where do they reach you?
You can always reach me on LinkedIn. Irene Aguh, Aguh. But beyond that, I think that all our info is available on the website. So anybody that wants to reach me is www.brandrevie.com. See?
Nice one. It's really amazing having you here. Everyone listening, I'm very sorry. When this is over, I'll start my own conversation with her, like one-on-one. And you've seen how amazing this is, so you know how that would be. One more thing, take a look around. How do you see my studio?
I love it. I love the logo. The logo is my favorite thing. It's like, this is what I want. I want people to see me and then I'll be like, oh yeah, AFROCOOL because I'm AFROCOOL. But I really love it. I think that you're doing an amazing thing. I'm so jealous. Please
it's allowed.
Come and make me a co-host.
So everyone, you heard her, and this is Daba Studios. Actually, Daba Studios. We have the best of everything here, and if you want to make use of this space, small thing, reach out.
I'm coming.
Reach out. There's a number. Just reach out. You can have access to this awesome equipment to yourself for your podcasts, for your shows, and all. We are here to make magic happen for you. MFK is in the house. I have the super amazing Irene today with me, and as always, I have Oga Kenny at the back, making magic happen. We are at the end of another episode. You guys are super amazing. Shout outs. Have a nice day. Bye bye. See you. All of the above.
I don't want to try me. I don't want to try me. It is my destiny. Why you won't cry me? First, I came from the deepest of valleys. On my mind, I only where the bag is. Couldn't even focus on these baddies. I want boys want to take cover. I'm the baddest. I had a buzz brains madness. Got low from the ladies and the man.